Committees, February 23rd meeting. We have one item on the agenda, and that is to talk about the utility rate review recommendation for rate increases. I'll just give you a little history here. We asked utility rate review to get together mid last year to discuss rate increases for the water fund. We received notification, or implemented last year, I should say, a rate increase from Avon Lake of around 8%, and then another increase this year in July of additional 8%. We had utility rate review look at those increases, look at our balances in those accounts. These accounts have been running red consistently over the at least past 5 years, and we had our last rate increase was in January of 2009 of 3%. Prior to that, January of 2008 was 5%, and prior to that, January of 2007 was 5%. But since January of 2009, we have not had a rate increase. We had the opportunity to have utility rate review give us a recommendation, and I don't know if representatives for the utility rate review or Keith want to talk about the recommendation, how you got to this point, and then council can discuss it. Any questions, and we'll go from there.
I can give a synopsis.
You know what? Can you each of you introduce yourself, and just so everybody, and what you represent, whether resident, business owner, or
Bruce Cole, resident.
Jay Smith, our rental resident.
Dolly Yeller, resident.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Bruce.
What we try to consider is a number of factors. One was brought to our attention by Mr. Lamb, council at large, regarding the need to keep in mind the older residents on fixed income. We had some input from others about the utility rates going up for the businesses, and we kept that in mind during our discussions, and when we looked at the review, we determined that probably the best course of action, we know that we have to have an increase. The city of Avon Lake has increased the water rates to the city 8%, not once but twice, without the city responding in kind to the water users. So we knew that we would have to raise them on everyone. We came out with the finance director giving us a fantastic spreadsheet that allowed us to manipulate numbers and see how they affected people. And it was great because we could target certain users and see the rates and how they would fluctuate and what price they were going to pay for the increase. One of the things that we looked at doing was to utilize the minimum rate charge or minimum billing, which currently is at 600 cubic feet per 3 months billing cycle. So we looked at that, and we found that we could keep the rate for the lowest end users by dropping the minimum bill from 600 cubic feet to 300 cubic feet. But in doing so, I think we answered Mr. Lamb's request to be able to keep those users who are using a minimum amount of water to at least keep their rates the same, so they wouldn't have to increase. We looked at the business unit. We're already into almost March. Businesses already have their budgets established for a year, and come at them and give them an increase would be very detrimental, especially in this economy where everyone is struggling to make ends meet. We looked at the possibility of holding off on a rate increase for them until January 1st of next year in 2013. We looked at a way to do it, and it was recommended that we were going to have a shortfall of about $400,000 to the water fund. And so that was what our target goal was for. We looked at changing a certain percentage of rates, how it was going to affect the users. Noting the two criteria that we had, we wanted to try to minimize the impact on the large end users for the water, and also to not increase the smaller end user and the person on fixed income. But yet, the burden of all these increases seems to fall on the middle end user, the family that has a home here in the city and has children, has huge water bills. We can relate. I have 5 children.
Okay.
So, yes, I know. We needed to go ahead and we had to find something that would be a judicious recommendation that would go across the board and wouldn't affect and hurt people that hard. What we recommended, and Mr. Durham can show the numbers, what we recommended was a slight increase that would affect the low-end users at about $2 a month. So it's a very minimal increase. But yet it will allow the city not to go into the negative for this year. We know that next year we're going to also have to have another added increase. And that's when we felt that it would be possible to target the business owners, the high-end water users, that they would have time to prepare for that use and for that increase in their water rates. With some preparation, I'm sure they could adjust their schedule. We felt it was very difficult, and as a business owner myself, you're going to have to make up costs somehow. If you're going to have a cost increase and you can't pass it on to your customers, you're going to have to make it up somewhere. And unfortunately, that means unemployment for some, layoffs, and we didn't want that. So that's why we kept the rate. But if we can give them a year to plan, I'm sure that they can go ahead and adjust rates and knowing that it's coming. It's not like it hasn't been expected. It has been reported in the paper that we have to have an increase. And so that's how we came up with our decision.
I think that covered everything really good.
Okay. Thank you. Keith, do you mind going over their...
No, I
I thought you said.
Okay.
I thought you was.
Nice job.
Can you?
Do you want to go over the comparison, or just this is the recommendation, this is the spreadsheet?
I think we've seen you're talking about the comparison that you gave it to us before.
Right, you've had that, so
Yeah.
I just, and it's available on the website as well if anybody wants to look at it. This is the recommendation, and this is the spreadsheet that Mr. Gold nicely referred to. This shows over here at the far left, and I hope, is that need focused a little bit, or is it okay?
Actually, it's good for me, and that's unusual.
All right. This column here, it's the current rate structure, and this is per quarter. This is the 3368. It's the minimum bill that covers up to 600 cubic feet. One question that came up in this is, could we divide the 100 cubic feet? Can we go any smaller than that as a quantity? We can't. The meters themselves read to the nearest 100 cubic feet, so that's it. That's the smallest quantity we know. So everything has to be in hundreds of cubic feet. Now, the first 600 cubic feet currently come with that 3368. Then from there up to 105 currently is $2.25. Over 100 cubic feet is currently $1.90. All right, and then this is the total quarterly revenue that we bring in at that rate structure. Now, each of these columns over here, the first one is the Utility Rate Review Commission's recommendation to take effect the middle of this year. And then the next one is the beginning of 2013. And then columns 3 and 4 are if you want to view alternatives, if you want to put something else in, that's what those are for. We can compare anything else you want to look at. The effective 2012 is, as was referred to, the rate goes from 3368, it stays essentially the same, it's 3369. That's just because it's divisible by 3. Last time we did the rate increase, we did percentages and didn't keep that straight when it went through. But changes the quantity from 600 cubic feet to 3. Then the threshold for the highest rate is still the 105. So from 3 to 105 would be $2.31, and then above 105 would stay at $1.90, and that's what we're referring to, that the businesses wouldn't get an increase in the mid-year. Theirs would be in January. So January 2013, then we'd still keep the minimum rate the same. It would still keep that quantity at 3, and then the threshold for the top rate would still be the 105. The middle rate there from between 3 and the 105 would be at $2.38, and then the highest rate would go from $1 to $1.96. That's about a 3% increase. Down here, this gives the total revenue, and this column here is the annual change. So this is how much increased revenue we would bring in from this. The first increase would bring in an annualized $231,000 a year. With the two combined, it would be about, it's a little over $300,000, $301,000 with the two increases there. And then, like I said, from there, if there's anything comparatively you want to do, we can punch it in up here and see what it does. And I'll just take suggestions you want to look at, or if you have any other questions about the survey or about the rates or the ETL meeting, whatever you want to cover from there, we're here.
I personally like the recommendation. I appreciate all your hard work, and we all know, we've been waiting with bated breath for your recommendations. We've known for a long time that the increases. My fear was that it was going to require for the least user, least amount users, and people on fixed income that it was going to be too drastic. I don't feel that this is that drastic, and all of us on councils, had the same concerns that Councilman Lamb has had in the past. It's the high-end users, the businesses. We don't want to have them scared away, laying off people. But all of our concerns with the people on fixed income, and we know if even $2 a month it's going to hit them. But I feel that that's palatable. And I appreciate your hard work.
Andrew, do you have any comment to that?
I agree. The only thing I think that would help me appreciate the change a little more maybe is to put it in perspective of my monthly bill. Do you have that ability? Of course, I don't know how much water I use and what I normally pay, but it seems like my bill doesn't ever really change much, ever.
Well, yeah, I can look it up.
We can find your address.
Well, I just mean people similarly situated to me.
Right, and we can pull that up, because we can look at these comparisons at any amount of use and come up with the...
Thanks, Mayor.
Sure.
When I attended some of the utility rate review meetings and kind of gave my 2 cents of what I'd like to see. And I know it's very difficult to try to find something that's going to work for everybody. And I think we're close, but I had some concerns about the, I think Keith, you sent an email out in reference to just examples, and maybe bringing up Andrea's bill, if willing, might give me an example of some of the people within that middle that is going to get hit. And Keith gave an example that somebody that was currently billed $89.93 per quarter under the proposal, and they are using, 3,100 cubic feet?
I think I have to switch back over to that.
If you don't mind, can you, just like Andrea requested, pop in some examples just to
here's a
get a
usage
feel.
here's a usage of 31, and we have 105 users in the city at that rate. That's what this column is.
Is that what mine is?
Yours,
what was mine?
like most of yours varies. This is back to yours. These are your rates. You're 21. These are quarterly. 21, 29, 22. The 29 was an August 30th read, the end of August read. So that's June, July, and August. That's usually going to be the higher one. The months before that, you were 22, 22, 22. Okay. Last summer, August 30th of 2010, your use was 38. So again, higher in the summer months there. So basically, you run around low 20s, and then you run high 20s or into the 30s in the summer months.
Okay, and then using the proposal, how does that work out into dollars?
So your bill at the 22 level, which is your normal non-summer, currently we bill that at $69.68 usage per quarter. Now you also pay a water capital charge, which all residents is $5.10 a month, but this is just the use charge is $69.68. Which is right here. Now, under proposal here to go into effect in mid-2012, it would go to $77.58. per quarter. And then effective January 1st, 2013, it would go to $78.91.
I feel like that's very reasonable. And can you compare that in my higher end? I think you said it was like in the 30s?
238.
Yeah, because we went up. Yeah, Mayor was asking by month, so it's 78 from 69, so it's about $10 a quarter. So it's $2-3 a month.
Okay.
And then your highest use that I saw there, looking back a couple of years, was 3,800 cubic feet, which currently would be 105.68. As of July mid-year, this would be 114, so it would go up about $9 there. And then the effective January 1st, 2013, it would go to 116. So again, that's 116.99, 117, so $11. Again, maybe $3 a month.
Yeah, that it seems very reasonable, and this gets us to where we need to be to keep us in the black.
And you're not the only council member, by the way, who's asked me what their use was to look at the comparison.
You know, I have the feeling how much water you waste. I only know how much water you waste.
I'm looking at your bill and wish I had.
No, that is water usage portion only. That doesn't include the water capital charge, and it doesn't include rubbish. So that's not the entire utility bill from the city. But yeah, that's what that.
Well, during the utility rate review process, Keith put together a water rate survey that compared this city of Medina to other communities within our county, the county itself, and the city of Canton, city of Akron, Barwood, Summit County, and the city of Canton down in Stark. And it just gave you a breakdown. He broke it down for 200 cubic feet on a monthly basis, and then it went in increments up to monthly charge at 1,037 cubic feet, which is supposed to be the state average for a household per month, correct?
Yeah, that's what the EPA says. Our use, we seem to be a little higher than what they say. But
Right.
We looked at the comparisons. So.
And then when you look through it, the city of Medina, and this is, I'm just talking in my opinion here, the city of Medina, as you look at this graph, we're still a little bit on the higher end for the average residential user compared to,
You wanted the 1,037?
We'll start at the 200 cubic feet.
Okay. There you go.
And city of Medina is 1633 is the average, and you can see that we're not the highest, we're definitely not the lowest, and there's some factors involved on how some of these other communities are able to kick out a low number, like the city of Canton. They charge residents surrounding the city of Canton that uses city water out in the townships or other communities around there, that they charge,
They charge a markup, and I don't remember off the top of my head, but we charge a markup to our out-of-town customers too. Ours is 45%. The thing is, we have so few out-of-town customers that it's totally not relevant. Canton, I think about a third of their customers are out-of-town, or maybe it was more than that. Cleveland, similarly, they're the second lowest there on the small use. They have a lot of customers because people in Brunswick are on Cleveland water, people quite far away from Cleveland, and they have a markup for suburb ring 1, suburb ring 2, and suburb ring 3, which are progressively higher for each one.
And if you could go to the next one for 1,037, just, and then the city of Medina starts to work its way down to the middle, and then when you get up higher, it's actually really competitive for the larger users. And yes, we did get an 8% increase in July, and we are getting another one in July of this year, and a possibility, I don't know if you just want to touch on that real quick.
Well, Patrick and I and Bill McGarvey attended last week the Avon Municipal Utilities customer meeting, and they notified us. This is not formal yet, because in the contract we buy the water from them, they have to give us a 6 months formal notice of an increase, but they notified us that their intention is that they will have a 6% increase July 1st of 2013 and another 6% July 1st of 2014. So I know that's new to utility rate review. We didn't have that when you met. We sent that memo out to council on a report on that meeting. That was the first we heard it, so That's the new information. We got another 6% each year the next couple of years.
Mr. Durham, does that rate increase also affect Avon Lake at the same percentage level?
The contract that we have with them, yes, ties our rate to the rate that they charge within their town. They can only charge us, it's 10% over what they charge to the lowest rate that they charge in the city. That's my understanding of that contract. We also pay a transmission charge, which is built in, which is over and above that, but that's significantly smaller. That pays for the pumps and so on between here and Avon.
So we have something else to look forward to in the future. But what I was getting at is that, you know, we knew we were going to have the rate increase last year. We knew we were going to have it this year. But I felt it was so important for you as citizens to get together, discuss, or review and discuss options for the city of Medina instead of city council just making the recommendation, you know, to have some involvement. You know, and I do appreciate all your guys' hard work in coming up with something. Myself, and, you know, I know in the past, when we've done water rate increases, it's been percentages and not just dollar amounts. And, you know, and myself, when we did a couple comparables where, you know, there could be some residents out there that might, after the July increase and the January increase, could be 19 to 20% increase compared to what they're paying now. So to me, it's hard to swallow, to be honest with you. And you know, I like the idea of the low-end user and allowing the ability for the businesses to plan for next year. But myself, I'm still, you know, I know there's only so much, and you have to divide it out through all the users, and you know, it's a difficult situation on who's going to pay more, who's not, and how are we going to be fair. And that's what I brought up at the utility rate review, is trying to be fair. Do I want to wait any longer? No, because we have to move, and I understand that. But like I said, it's just been difficult for me, for those particular users that, you know, aren't the businesses, but the residents, maybe not on the very low end, but in there, that's really going to have to take a brunt of this. I mean, we all are, don't get me wrong, but, you know, comparatively, they have to take a little more. So, I'm still fighting it a little bit myself, to be honest, and I don't want to be a downer on progress, because, you know, I was excited that you guys were able to get the recommendation. But I don't know if...
Mr. Fuller, may I add something?
Sure.
One of the things that you're looking at is in your chart, you're not taking in account, numbers can mean a lot of things. We can twist numbers and change them. But one thing that the charts do not take into account that these other cities don't have to face, that Medina has, is a recent debt service that we've had to acquire because of the water transmission lines. So if we backed out the debt service, our rates would probably be at the lowest end on all users. Is that correct?
Well, we pay about 30% of our total expenditures in the water fund are debt service. Mm-hmm. And almost all of that debt is related to we still have a couple things prior to that, but most of the debt is related to the water line, to the project of connecting to Avon. It's not cheap to build a water line from here to Avon Lake.
But if we back that portion out of our bill,
yeah,
where would we be now? We'd be at the very low end of almost every city and almost every water rate.
If you just did it across the board,
that's how it used to be.
But again, how we used to be, we've changed.
No, obviously we have. Obviously we have. And the calculations when the new water line was constructed was off some. So we've been playing catch up ever since we switched over to the new line. To me, I wanted to see consistent rate increases at a small level. So we don't have to come, for instance, when we put the water line in 2002, because the calculations were off, we had to come back to the residents for a 15% water rate increase, which, you know, I wasn't on council at the time, but, you know, looking at history, when we started in 2007, we wanted to gradually hit the increase to them.
No, I was living in Minnesota at the time, and what we pay for the rates for water in 3 months is what I paid for 1 month's usage of water. So, again, we can look at percentages, but when we look at the dollar amount on that group of individuals that you're saying will be at the 18 to 20%, the rate increase is at most $2 a month for that user. And again, I looked at the $2 a month, as Andrea brought up, is very reasonable. And we came up with a rate structure that we felt was amicable to all parties and took into account some of the recommendations that council made, Mr. Lamb's in particular. We feel this is the most fair and amicable rate that we can come up to all parties, knowing that we're all going to have to pay an increase, taking into consideration what the business owner is going to have to face. We felt that this was the most fair. To get down to tweaking this to, this group only pays this percentage, and tweaking the percentage, it will be a nightmare for Mr. Derms and his crew.
I agree. I mean, I've sat down with Keith, myself, one-on-one to try to make the numbers work, and it's an ongoing process to try to figure that out. But I agree, it's there.
I guess the other thing I would ask you to do, Mark, is look at it over the 3-year period. We had no increase in 2010, no increase in 2011. So then the 18 to 20% really becomes 6 something.
Right.
You amortize it over. And we know that our increases were 8% last year, 8% this year, 6% the next 2 years. So even the 6% is not unusual for what we're experiencing ourselves.
Right. I agree.
I would just like to, I guess, emphasize to some degree, I don't think that $2 or $3 a month is unreasonable. We've been paying the same rate for a while now. We continue to get, great water. I never have any complaints. Bruce comes to my house and enjoys it. And it doesn't smell bad. It's good. We're getting a good product, if you can speak of it as a product. Things go up a little bit. $2 a month is, in my mind, not hard to plan for if this is enough to keep us in the black. It's not that much. The other part in my mind, the other reason I wanted to see, for instance, my water bill is sometimes I feel like I get too good of a deal. Everyone's probably going to be mad at me for this, but in the summertime, my water usage almost doubles. My bill never doubles. My bill goes up by $10, and so these I'm getting other benefits that maybe we haven't pointed out or hadn't considered before. From 22 to 38, and I really don't pay anything significantly more. This hasn't really, these rate changes have barely affected me for what I get, because one of your recommendations obviously could have been, let's break down into one more thing where once you get above, say, 35, you're suddenly going to pay for what you're actually getting, which is double the water. So I thought it was a way to let us continue to receive some of those benefits for very nominal cost.
I agree with you, Andrew.
I think we thought that, too, with bringing it down from 6 to 3, pretty much everybody's going to use 300 cubic feet, I think.
Right. But it
Yeah,
does
so
it
that's
does
kind of
it does
fair.
give an option to people that are on fixed incomes, that they can plan for that extra $2, and $2 can be significant. And all of us, I mean, I should characterize. I know if I had to financially, I could cut back my water use, not stand in the shower for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I could really stand in there for 5. It feels so damn good. But I think most people can. They do have. This is something they do have control on. But like Andrea said, without changing your lifestyle, a $2 increase, $2 to $3 increase on the average user is, I don't think is.
I mean, nobody ever wants to pay more, but that's pretty nominal, and we still receive a great benefit, I think. I like the recommendation.
Yeah, I think you guys did a great job. I really do.
Do you guys have any other comments?
Nope.
Is there any comments?
I
Jim?
just wanted to talk a little bit about why the 6 months. Sometimes when you do this, you get hit 6 months, and then people, if they don't pay attention, they think, okay, it's over with. Then another 6 months later, you get it again, and it's like why not do it all at once? What was your thinking there, and what's the difference, Keith, in what it brings in the last 6 months of this year?
Last 6 months of this year, well, the first increase would bring in an annualized, it's $231,000, so in a half year, it's going to be half that, so it's going to be $116,000 that will bring in increase by enacting this recommendation during the current year instead of just waiting on everything until the end of the year. I think that's what, is that the question?
So the other thing that we looked at was, in fact, how long it will take to get through council and then enact it, and then the rate increase actually take place. So that's why we projected it in the month of June.
But why not just start in next January? I guess that's what I'm asking.
Because we needed to increase the funds into the, for the water fund now.
We're already running in the red.
Yes, you're already running.
Yeah, we've been running deficits, so I mean, the sooner we enact that, the sooner we start to turn that around, I guess, is the answer to that. The total additional revenue from the combined two recommendations is $300,000 a year. So the way this recommendation is phrased, it would be about 115, 116 this year, and then about 300,000 next year.
I'm just trying to figure out, too, if it helps at all to give people a little bit more notice. I know we've got it out there, but you watch, nobody's going to pay attention until they see it.
Right.
And when I get the calls, and then it's going to be 6 months later, it's going to go up a little bit more again.
You say just do it once.
And I would push it off a little bit longer if possible, but I know we've pushed it off for a long time and been talking about it.
That would be my only comment, Jim, was we've really stretched this.
I just still think, we just got done talking about sidewalks and the
Well, you know,
here we are right now again.
Right.
In the next 3 months, charging people another increase. So I still don't think the economy's all that great yet.
No.
Is there any other comments?
Anybody else want me to look up their water use?
I have minimum. I believe I might have minimum, I'm not sure.
I pay the minimum bill, I mean, and I was looking at this, that's one individual living in a house, I use 3 to 6 is
Right.
what my rate comes out to. That's
You
it.
can look up mine. I think mine was 21 last month, but
So really, how you've addressed the,
there's
the
like
question
2 in
that
our
we
house.
talked
and there was
about
only
people
one
at the
above
lower
here.
end income level,
It's
are
not
really
amazing. My
addressed by,
husband got cut down.
by the
By not increasing.
Right,
I just did
right.
home on TV, I
And,
guess.
and I appreciate you doing that, because I think that really does address that. And to tell you the truth, I think it's it was a very thoughtful presentation. And I think that fairness is, it looks like, and your presentation was understandable to me. I mean, I thought you did a great job explaining it, the whole group, but Bruce in particular, I think the way you explained it, I think, I could have you do my presentations, I guess. I'm much more successful.
It's based on a usage instead of an income level. So.
Right.
Right, and that was
That was
I was looking more on income level and age, but I think what you've done, I appreciate that, because you took that and you really melded it, put it into the proposal in a different way, but really addressing the issue. And I think that's good.
You can thank Dolly for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like I said, for several years, we all of us on council, this council and previous councils, has had the same concerns that you did,
Right.
is hitting the people with the least, trying to stay, as fair as we can, but without asking them to even be sacrificing more. So, we're all grateful for your hard work. Do you need a motion, Mark?
I do.
I'll make a motion to accept the utility rate review's recommendations.
Second?
Okay. Here in a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any against, same sign. And that's it. Thanks again for your
Thank you.
your involvement. And
One other item, though, I should have brought up. The mayor's asked for consideration to extend, look at the rates beyond the 2 years
well,
with the committee.
no, I agree with you. I don't know if you recall at the last utility rate review when I was there. I don't want you guys to just to break off. I was hoping that you guys could stay together and look at the upcoming years. And now we have the possible 6% or 12, and then next couple of years to look at that and go out to a 3-year or even a 5-year plan.
5-year, you do
Right.
5-year budgeting now.
Right, exactly. Because this is, what you've recommended is just going to get us caught up to a point, but we're still, if you look at the history, we continue to lose, so, yeah.
That was my reasoning, Mark, is to tie it with the 5-year budget.
Sure.
5-year budgets, 5-year revenue projections, this just makes sense to tie it with them.
Yeah.
Now, will Avon, they'll add things just like they just added the 6% for 2013 to 14? If you do a 5-year budget?
Well,
are
They
gonna
told
stick
us at that time, they told us at the meeting last week, that they projected 6% for those 2 years, that would be middle of 13 and middle of 14, because they do theirs July 1st. And then they projected 2% per year thereafter. Now, they have changed their projections in the past, but in the time I've dealt with them, I think this is the first time, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is the first time they've given us an indefinite projection. You know, they've always told us before, we're putting in this increase and we think that's it for a while, and then they come back and do another. And this time they said 6, and then 2 every year from there on. I mean, that's, you know, I think if we budget off of that, hopefully we'll be okay for at least a few years. I think the 6 and the first 2 they've certainly looked at, they seem to have covered all of their needs with those 2, and then we'll just see from there. They talked about a few things and that may save money down the road. They may have a new customer in Westlake. And we hopefully will be able to save some money where I put in a proposal, we're going to be talking about a debt refinancing that will mostly affect the water fund. That at current rates, if we're able to refinance this year, could save us about $85,000 a year. That's not all water. It's probably about 2/3 of that would be water, so that would help too. So we'll be looking at those things as we go forward.
So there's going to be numerous topics to talk about, and the water, we still have room to sell additional water, you know, to other customers, which would be something else that we could possibly look at, because we have a certain level that we're allowed. But we don't only use half of it, so there's a difference in there that we could possibly source out to somebody on this side of the Continental Divide that, you know, could bring in some additional revenue.
Do you mean like other businesses? Or
No,
other
well, it could be
residents?
other communities,
Oh.
you know, maybe other businesses, but, you know, the county has their own, when the line was put in, we were in a contract with Avon Lake, rural Lorraine County, Water Authority, I believe is their full name, and then Medina County, and then the city. Am I leaving anybody else out? So we're all sharing the water that's coming down here, so I mean, we'll really have to look to see who's actually an option. But as we look around to run more efficient and things of that nature, you know, that'll be something else. So thanks again for all you guys' hard work, and appreciate everybody coming out, and this meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.